So this is the very first session I've put together, and the meaning of this is to help inspire other people who might be in a situation, I guess, where they're looking to improve their lives, and hearing from the people that are obviously at the top of their game as well. So that might mean, you know, business people, athletes, whatever the case might be. I think that it's really, really handy to hear from people who have found success and obviously have something really, really awesome to share. So that's where I introduce you to my amazing neighbour, Taneille Crase. So, all right, let's get started. Taneille, obviously I know the success and the hard work and everything that you've put into what you do.
Yeah.
And as soon as I started these sessions, and I wanted to start these sessions, I couldn't think of anyone better who I wanted to speak to, because you obviously have so much to share. So who are you and what do you do?
Okay, so as you mentioned, my name is Taneille Crase. I compete in something called the Heptathlon. So the Heptathlon is a athletics or track and field event that contains 7 different events over 2 days. So those events are 100 hurdles, high jump, shot put 200 on day 1, and then long jump, javelin 800 on day 2. Currently, at the moment, I'm ranked number 1 in Australia and in the Oceanic region. And so from that, I'm hoping to qualify for the Commonwealth Games in April. And yeah, we'll see where my journey takes me from April onwards.
So rewind a few steps, because we know that just didn't fall in your lap. Take us back to 20 years ago, and Jesus. I guess where you were and what you wanted to do. Was there something that you always aspired to be?
No, God, no. I always knew that I wanted to be a sports person of some sort. I just loved participating in sport, was a very active kid. And I always had in mind that I wanted to represent my country after pretty much the 2000 Olympics in Sydney, and watching that at preschool and carrying the plastic Olympic torch. I was just like, yeah, I want to represent my country in some way, shape or form. Didn't matter what sport, but I definitely wanted to represent my country. But yeah, I really had my eyes set on being a teacher, which is also another avenue of my life. So they were the 2 things that I strive to be, was just represent my country and become a teacher. And so they're the 2 things that are falling very nicely this year. So
yeah, absolutely. And I think even just as a teacher, you've got that natural ability to be able to inspire and share your knowledge. And like, not only have you done the hard works with your athletics, you are also studying at university as well. So much going on.
Yeah, definitely. So it keeps me busy during the weeks. Training every day apart from Sundays, or sometimes I might switch it up and do some sessions on a Sunday. And then, studying on top of that. So that's pretty much what my life contains of.
So I guess one thing that I really want to touch on is like the point of getting to where you are now, from 20 years ago when you always wanted to represent Australia in some sort and teach, obviously. I know 20 years ago there were so many things I wanted to do as well. I guess like there's one thing that gets in the way of a lot of goals, and that's just lack of commitment, lack of consistency, and lack of focus. Like, would you agree?
Yeah, 100%. And especially when you go through any sort of traumatic events like injuries, or if there's been an illness, or if there's been a significant tragedy in your life, those things then get in the way of what you're trying to do, because you're just like, well, what am I even doing this for? Like, there's bigger and better things I could be doing. It kind of blocks your mind a little bit when you get an injury, you lose all that focus, you lose all those motivations. Or if you get sick and then you're put off for a couple of weeks, it's like, well, how am I going to get that motivation to get back into it when you're just sitting and watching Netflix or whatever? So it does get to a stage where those mentalities of motivation and focus and determination, there's moments in everyone's life where I find that it's just going to have an effect on you. But I guess it's how you deal with that and how you come through at the other end is really, really important. So, and I'm not going to be an advocate to say that I've always been motivated and determined and focused. there's some points where I've given up, and I think I've given up on this sport maybe a handful of times, but I've come back in the end. And I think it's just finding ways to not give up, but maybe take a break and take a step back.
Yeah, and that's a really good point. I think we all do go through those ups and downs, waves and things. And I think if there's one thing I could probably say is when you have those waves, you've really got to just lean into them, because that's like obviously natural. You're going to go through tragedies and ups and downs in your life. And I mean, these things, I guess, are meant to floor you.
Yeah.
But only temporarily. You don't need them to floor you permanently. So
exactly.
You've got to be able to have that strength to keep going when you're ready and keep pushing on. So that, I guess, comes down to a really, really strong mindset.
Oh, 100%. Like if you don't have a strong mindset, it makes things a lot harder.
Yeah.
And I just find that as soon as you start thinking a lot more positive about things, it becomes easier, even if things don't go to plan. And I'll use my competition yesterday, for example. I had a great 100 meters, great hurdles race where I did PBs, went into high jump and only cleared my starting height. So I was a whole 13 centimeters off my best. But I had a mother and a coach message me saying, I just want to say thank you. And I was asking, well, what are you saying thank you for? And she said, well, my daughter was in your high jump, and when she saw that you were nowhere near your best, you just shrugged it off and went, oh, well, just having a bad day, but that's okay, because I just wanted to know what my starting height was going to be like at nationals. So I'm happy that I was able to get that, and walked away with a smile on your face. And she said that taught my daughter that even though you have a bad day, doesn't mean you have to let it get to you, and doesn't mean that you have to get upset about it. So that to me was probably the biggest thing that I achieved yesterday, is that I was able to inspire the next generation of athletes to not just be their best, but to also set their minds in the best way possible.
Absolutely. And your starting point doesn't necessarily represent your potential.
No,
either. No. I mean, we've all got to start somewhere.
Absolutely.
And there's no such thing as an overnight success.
No.
Like, overnight success takes a lot of work and a lot of time and
Definitely.
a lot of blood, sweat and tears.
Like you were mentioning before, this story really started from 20 years ago. I got into sport 20 years ago. I started little athletics at Jimboomba, and progressed through from there. And I didn't really get serious until I was in high school, and things started moving really well, but there was bumps along the way. And I have just recently gotten back into athletics, maybe nearly 2 years ago, and it's been paying off pretty well so far. So
yeah, amazing. So one thing I did want to ask you, obviously we've learned about your backstory and kind of what got you into where you are now. You can't generally do this without people behind you.
Oh God, no.
And this is something I've sort of learned. It doesn't matter kind of whatever you do, you need a coach. And it's easy to describe, I think, in athletics, because there's always an athletics coach. There's always someone at the end of track and field telling you you've done something wrong. You could have improved something. You could have improved some kind of form. And I need a coach for business, for anything else, just like you. So explain to me your support team, who backs you up?
So like you were saying then, I think just having that one person is the most critical thing. So my coach, mentor, friend, she is pretty much everything I rely on, is Glenys Nunn. And
Olympian.
Yeah, gold medalist at the 1984 for the heptathlon. So I can't ask for anyone better that has been through this experience. So I kind of rely on her for everything. I go to her for advice just about athletics. I go to her for advice about just general life stuff. If I'm having a really flat day, she can pick up on it and she will change the session. Or the other week, I was just having a really hard week. Things weren't going right. Training was absolutely horrible. And I was getting to a point where I was getting frustrated, and she just looked at me and said, you just need to have a good cry. And I went home that day and I had the biggest cry I could imagine, and it just fixed everything. And I just find that she is somebody that I can go to and express everything that I need to express. And I think that's really important, having someone that you can just be honest and open with, whether or not that is a family member, a partner, an absolute random psychologist, anyone like that. I think it's just really important having that person.
And I'm sure she would tell you things that you don't want to hear.
No, God, no. She tells me like some of the worst things. Like if she says, oh yeah, you're running a 600 today. Yes, the worst things I want to hear. But she'll also tell me things that, like, yeah, sure, I don't want to hear it, but I think I need to hear it too.
Yeah. I mean, obviously the point of a coach is to push you outside of those boundaries, because we think we know what we're capable of, but you can always 10x that. You know, like, and it might be as like, okay, so put it in layman's terms, put in Kelly terms right here, because I'm certainly not an athlete, but you know, like you, I sing songs, right? And I perform, and I'll sing a song and I'm just like, all right, how can I make this 10 times better?
Absolutely.
Or just a bit better. How can I make it better next time? Because naturally, you know, you think you're doing a great job, but for the outsider, they can say, well, you can do better. So you've got to be able to 10x it. And sometimes we're not strong enough to recognize that.
No, God, no. So I just find that, like, I applaud any athlete that can coach themselves, but I don't think I could ever coach myself to being the athlete that I am today. And I thank Glennis every single competition, every single training session. I just say thank you to her, because I'm so appreciative for everything she does for me. So,
and I think anyone to take on that role as a coach, they've got to be able to have had success before. And clearly Glennis says she's done that hard yard. She's done exactly what sport you've done. So it's not like, you know, you're getting a high jump coach to come in and just teach you high jump. Like you're across the board. She knows what she's talking about. She's prepped for games before. She's gone through the heartbreaks and the heartaches and the injuries and all that stuff as well. So she knows exactly what it's like to be in your shoes.
Yeah, definitely. And I think having that type of person that just knows or has been there, done that is super, super important. Because I would never want to try and give advice to somebody if I've haven't done it myself or haven't tried it myself. I'm a big believer that it's really, really important. Whatever you're trying to persuade or say or do, I think you should try it yourself before you try and make someone else do it.
Yeah, awesome. All right, so on to some more questions. Okay, so explain to me your normal day, because you have so much on your plate at the moment. Tell me, like, is there any time for fun here?
Look, I try to.
Now I know, because like there's been crazy fun vroom toys.
So look, we do every now and then. I'll get my opportunity to go and have fun. So as you know, and our neighbors, we all like to get together and have a few beverages and enjoy each other's company. And then my partner and I, we're very outdoorsy, just like the Lotzes. So going out camping and things like that, that's my getaway time. But that's only on very special occasions. So I don't unfortunately get that special occasion often. It's a privilege when I can. But my day to day, I'm training 6 days a week, sometimes 7 days a week if I need to do extra. My Mondays, generally I'm doing uni study in the mornings on a Monday, and then training in the afternoon for about 3 hours, sometimes 3.5. And an hour of that before and after is driving to training, so that takes up some of my time. Tuesdays, it's generally a recovery run and gym session in the morning, and then afternoons I go and do some throws training, as that's
so recovery and gym, they go together.
Recovery run is just a 15-minute run where I just, from the night before, just go and run it out, so there's no sore spots. Generally there is sore spots, but it's just so I feel a little bit better for gym. And then in the afternoon it's generally throws training session. Then on Wednesday mornings I am doing a pool session just at home, and then I go and do some study for a couple of hours. Then in the afternoon I'm doing another throw session in shot put, and we've been incorporating some long jump run up practice as well, so that will take about 2 hours maybe. And then Thursdays, again, uni in the morning, and then in the afternoon, about 3.5 hours of practice down the Gold Coast. Fridays, back to the recovery run and gym, and Friday afternoons, that's generally my time, or I go to the physio, I go get a massage and do all that recovery stuff, as that's really, really important. And then Saturday mornings, it's back down to the Gold Coast for another, that's more of a 2.5, 3 hour session. And
this is obviously when you don't have comps on that week.
Yeah, of course.
Change as
yeah.
well.
So generally comps are on Saturday afternoons or Sundays, if we're doing a heptathlon. And so we might do a lighter session on the Saturday morning, or I might just do a pool session just to get my legs moving or things like that. And then, compete in the afternoon on the Saturday. And then Sundays are generally my day off, or if I feel like I haven't done enough javelin practice, I'll get the javelin out and I'll start throwing that about. But that's generally what my week looks like.
And one thing that you've told me before, which I was so surprised by, so obviously as a heptathlete, you're not just competing in one event. So you have to be top of the game for every single event.
Yeah.
So it's not like you can kind of share your talent across those events. You have to be the best in Australia in each event to get those points up and to be able to get your you
need to be very good at all of those events. So say, for example, I'm going to say 5 out of the 7 events I'm quite decent at. 2 of them I need to work on. And it really balances out. And there is a point system. So for every millisecond, for every centimeter, for every little second possible, there is a point to it on a calculator that that determines the overall points at the end. So you could do really, really well in a handful of events, or do really crap in an event. And if you do really poorly in an event, it can sort of jeopardize your competition and your points. But I think that you just weigh it up, because in the heptathlon, there's always going to be people with strengths and weaknesses. I've got my weaknesses and I know what they are. So it's being able to improve those weaknesses as best as you can, but also strengthen your strengths as much as possible. So it's getting those better, because if you get those even better and improve your weaknesses by like 1%, it all adds up in the end.
Wow, that's awesome. All right, hard-hitting question. What is this secret to success?
Is there a secret?
I don't know. You're kind of like on the pathway to figuring it out. So
I don't know if there is a secret. I do think for athletics especially, and I think for anything, I think consistency is key. I've always believed that being able to get consistent training and being able to get consistent recovery and being able to get consistent studying and you're always going to achieve something. But if it's like inconsistent and you're going here and then all of a sudden it drops off and then it's going back up and then it's dropping off again, unfortunately success does not happen as successfully as it should. So whereas if you're just staying consistent and you just have a little drop and then you go up, and then that's the way to success. And I don't believe I've been fully successful in what I've done, but I did have one aim in mind in my head, and it had really nothing to do with making a Commonwealth Games team or making a World Champs team or anything like that. But the only thing I told myself when I came back to athletics was give it all you've got and walk away with no regrets. And I think if I do that, that's the definition to success for myself.
Yeah, amazing. Just quickly, like last week, you had a big session on Monday. You actually, for anyone that doesn't know, we distribute Kangen water. So we thought we'd give Taneille a little bit of a test with the Kangen water. Long story short, it's ionized water and it helps with recovery and like from, illnesses and ailments and athletes. I think that there's like there's a place for it. So how were you after day one?
I was like phenomenal. Like normally every Monday I am on the ground hurling up my guts. It is so
this is just because you've expelled yourself so much. Is that what you've
generally it's just you're putting your body to the absolute max, and you're fatigued, you're mentally fatigued, your whole body's just kind of giving up, but your mind's saying no, you've got to keep going. On Monday or this week that just went, I got to try the water, and I absolutely loved it. Like, I actually could get through a session without collapsing, and I was still on my feet, and there was no moment where I wanted to be sick or anything like that. Right. And that was just from drinking 3 bottles of it.
Yeah. And it obviously gets absorbed quite well. So, and being high impact, like high performance athlete as yourself, it gets there quicker. It doesn't stop a lot quicker than general water. So
which I'm was very surprised about.
Yeah, awesome. No, that's fine. Well, thank you so much for coming up here. And
right.
Our first, like obviously the first session, I mean, you've covered more off than I could have ever imagined.
Cool.
And I think what you have done is so inspiring to anybody else. Like, as I said, not just athletics, just across the board. Like, consistency is obviously that huge breadwinner right there. You know, like as you look around my office here, I've got like all sorts of stuff going on here, and I do my best at trying to be consistent, but it's definitely a big mindset game, you know, trying to stay consistent, staying focused, having your diary, knowing what you do, having your routine, and kind of sticking to it to get to that end goal.
Well, even like just with junior athletes at the moment, I keep telling them it's really important to get a training diary and start writing in it every single day. Like, my training diary has become my Bible now, and I'm writing in it every single day. And even this new diary that my partner has given me, it has in it, it's like, what are you grateful for today? What are 3 goals that you're going to achieve today? What are the positives from today? What are you going to work on for tomorrow? And I think just those kind of questions are really important as well. I always used to write on the board in our kitchen 3 things that I was grateful for. And as soon as I started doing that, just things started changing. And it's not just in regards to my athletics or training. It's just with everything. What am I grateful for today? What are 3 things? And that's really, really helped. And another thing that I found to keep focused or to keep on track with things is, say, for example, when I'm in a competition, we started writing down 3 keywords to think about for each event. So say, for example, for the hurdles, I might have 3 key sayings that are going to help me think about that event. So it's not actually thinking about, right, get to the line as fast as you can, or run this time, for example.
Don't fall over. Don't fall over.
Or don't fall over. Generally it's positive keywords. But so like, I've always got a time in my head, like say, for example, yesterday I had a time in my head, but rather than thinking about the overall picture and getting overwhelmed about not achieving that or not getting there or things like that, because I find even in teaching as well, when you're thinking about the overall picture and what you've got to do, it can get super overwhelming.
One step at a time.
Exactly. And working with students, when they look at an assignment or they look at an exam and they go, oh my God, there's like 50 questions, or there's a whole massive task sheet I've got to read and I've got to do all these things, they start getting stressed out. And it's the same thing in athletics. And I think it's the same thing in life in general, is you start looking at the bigger picture and you're going, oh my goodness, how am I going to get there? And start overwhelming yourself and start stressing yourself out. So that's when we started going, right, let's step away from the overall result. Let's focus on the steps to get there. And that's where these keywords have come into place. And I write 3 things down and I look at those before the event, and that's all I think about. And at the state championships and Oceania championships in December, I did exactly that. And then I remembered for my event that didn't go so well, or my 2 events that didn't go so well, I did not look at my 3 keywords going into that event. And I understand now that I was trying to aim for something like the overall picture rather than thinking about my 3 little keywords. And it just fell apart for me. And then I let it get to me for my final event. And as much as the rest of the 5 other events went well, the Heptathlon is a 7-event thing. So it's super important not to get caught up in that overall picture and just focus on the little steps.
One step at a time. And
Definitely.
That's awesome and life advice in general, because once we start kind of overcomplicating it,
Yeah.
our mind gets a bit messed up.
Oh, definitely. Like if I'm a big overthinker, so if I can,
You and me both.
if I can overthink in a different way, then that's probably the best thing for myself, rather than getting caught up in the stress of everything. So yeah.
Awesome. Well, I couldn't hope for a better neighbour who's also one of my closest friends, and obviously so super inspiring. So thank you so much for jumping on.
Thank you for having me.
Obviously you're on socials.
I am. So oh goodness me. Hold on,
So
I have to look this up.
I will share them. I'll share them along here somewhere.
All right. But yeah, so if anyone
this is super like not very professional.
I know, I'm totally no. So if anyone wants to follow me on Instagram, it's Taneille Crase, so TANEILLECRASE. If anyone wants to follow me on Facebook, it's Taneille Crase under my sports person. And then I also have a website, Taneille Crase at taneillecrase.com.au.
Which I'll share all the details anyway. But thank you again. Thank you so much.
No,
I can't wait to see, like, I'm literally waiting on bated breath to see how you go for that. Like, obviously for the next qualifier. We're fingers crossed, everything crossed for the next big event, which is
on the 30th of March and the 1st of April is what I'm predicting our competition date is going to be. They haven't set it in stone yet, but I'm assuming it's that date. So that will be my selection trials for the World Champs and Com Games. And if things go really well there, then I will probably be jumping on a plane in a month's time after that and going over to Europe to do a few competitions before those championships.
So leading up to then, we're staying consistent, we're staying focused, one step at a time, looking after ourselves, no sudden moves, no injuries.
Definitely.
All the best luck. We're just absolutely gunning for you. So
thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.